Hey everyone, my name is Jolene, for those of you who don't know me, and welcome to this short intro video for the Breathwork online session that you have signed up for. Thank you so much for joining me, by the way, and I'm really excited to support you on your journey to coming back into the body, um, to trusting your body, allowing all parts of you to be seen and heard. And in my opinion, the breath work is one of the best ways to help us release stress, anxiety, difficult emotions, emotions that we don't really want to look at or that have been trapped in our body for a long time. Um, I like to think of the breath work as a way of cleaning the body of emotional toxins, let's say. So it is a powerful tool. It is important that you feel prepared and supported in your environment when coming to the breath work, especially for the first time. So I wanted you to be prepared for that journey and know that it is a journey to coming back to the self. Um, so like many of us, and I'm speaking for myself now, I have tried to think my way out of difficult situations, emotions, or like states of being. And I've suffered with depression for as long as I can remember, and anxiety, and was a kid who had OCD and tried very hard to control my entire environment. So as long as I can remember, I felt quite separate from everyone around me. And I have just really come to realize that that feeling of separation was just me feeling separate from me. I didn't really feel at home in my body and was not really accepting um, how my emotions felt in my body. I didn't really feel safe feeling. So I would tend to have a feeling and then sort of stuff it back in, or like literally lift the rug and hope that that they would just disappear somehow. But over time, what ends up happening is that I like to see it this way, as a buildup of like just grime that has built over the surface of my heart, over the surface of my being and my body, almost like a calcification. Um, and when I discovered breath work, it allowed me to see that I could lift up the surface, like lift that sort of grime or calcified, hard, emotional um, stress that I had placed in my body just by breathing and allowing the body to do the work for me, trusting my body to lift that away from the surface and release it out of my body through my breath, through sound, through movement. Um, yeah, because I tried so hard for so many years to think my way out of it, to control my way out of my emotions, and to pretend that they weren't there. And in turn, I felt unsafe being vulnerable in my own body with my own feelings. And this created even more separation and less connection to myself and to others. And so I really wouldn't let people in. I'd let people in only to the degree, to the surface that there was, I could only meet people where I was, which was sort of like layered up in an armor around my own heart, around my own emotions and feeling scared of them. Um, and so that's just a little bit of background about, for me, how important this breathwork has been, how life-changing it has been for me coming home to myself, to feeling safe and allowing all the emotions to be present in my body, and therefore allowing all parts of me. It's like meeting your shadows within, um, uh, just by breathing. So on a technical aspect, I'm going to go into what the breath looks like and what what your session is going to look like, and some tips about how to have a more successful session together. But just a little bit of the science behind it. And the breath that we use is conscious, continuous breath or circular breathing. Um, Really what's happening is that you're building a lot of oxygen in the body. So there's a focus on the inhale, being drawn in really deep, and a short exhale. And what happens here is that this part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, that ego part, that thinking, critical, judgmental mind that makes the decisions for us every single day, starts to quiet down, and some other parts of the brain that we're not used to lighting up per se start to light up. And when this starts to quiet and those other parts of our brain, those more subconscious parts of our being, are allowed to come to the surface, we really start to see ourselves like differently. You can almost, like, I like to see it, it's like I'm seeing myself from above without the critical mind. So I'm actually seeing who I really am. And with that comes quite a bit of emotional reaction. It's like, oh, I am not that thought. I am not how I used to see myself, or how I was told I should be, or um, just really letting go of that part of the brain helps us to see us more clearly, in a more pure way, like our soul being, who we really are. So I'm excited to show you this technique, and I'm really excited for you to join me in this online workshop. So this is what the breath looks like, and there's a couple of ways um, to teach it. I like to break it down in 3 parts. Essentially, though, the breath in the beginning is a lot easier to access if you're breathing in through the mouth and out through your mouth. So it's basically, I break it down in 3 parts, which again, once you become used to the breath, you might start to make it a little bit more like a 2-part breath. But in the beginning, I find it's easier to understand and access when you break it down like this. So it's breathing into belly, chest, exhale. So it's a and the mouth is relaxed, the jaw is soft, your shoulders are relaxed, and it's basically just an effortless focus on breathing deep into the belly, into the chest, and letting it go. So some people, if that doesn't feel right for you, could just breathe in on a if you're able to link that breath like that, then you're welcome to try it that way. But in the beginning, it's nice to just sort of break it down. So, and eventually start to kind of seamlessly bring it into that belly, chest exhale. So I welcome you to try that on its own just right now, if you're sitting up and trying the 3 parts. So belly, chest, exhale. And notice that there's a bit of resistance that comes in because it's so kind of foreign to breathe and find that wide channel for the breath to come in. So we want to bring in as much oxygen into the body as possible. So that's why we do it through the mouth. And again, eventually, if that feels a little bit awkward, sometimes I try to later in the breath session, once I get into the rhythm of the breath, then I might switch to breathing through the nose. So that's entirely up to you. Just know that there's no right or wrong way to breathe, but that this is generally an easy way to start. Okay, so 3 parts: belly, chest, exhale, and you'll eventually get into the rhythm. So it takes only about 5, maybe 7 minutes for the body chemistry to change. So meaning that the pH level in the body, you start to alkalize the blood because you're increasing the amount of oxygen in the body. So the results, that the side effect to that is that you may, and not everyone will feel this, is a tingling sensation in the body because there's just so much oxygen flowing through you, so much energy pulsing through the body. So you feel tingling in the hands, perhaps, and through the mouth. You might start to purse your lips a little bit, feeling energy and tingling in your chest, maybe a feeling of heat in the body, a feeling of cold in the body. So the temperature changes is a natural thing as well. So that is all to be expected. And the way the breath session actually happens, and I'm going to show you now, is that we are going to lie comfortably on your back. And maybe before we start, I can suggest a few tips that will also make this a little bit more comfortable for you. So I like to have an eye pillow, an eye mask, I should say. I love having my AirPods, if you have earphones, just something so that the music that we use in the session can evoke even more emotional response in the body so that you can really let go of that thinking mind and just sort of allow the music and the breath to guide you. Okay, so you can relax a little bit more into it. I use lip balm because the breath in and out, sometimes you get dry lips. You can have a little bit of water, that's okay, but I really suggest, and this is important, that you do the breath work on more of an empty stomach. So please don't eat or drink a lot right before the breathwork session, because there's a lot you can feel, sometimes nausea, a feeling of like heaviness in the body as you move through some of these emotions, like a purging almost. And oftentimes I feel like almost like I want to vomit. And just know that that's a normal response, and all of those things are normal, and they can feel kind of scary at the time, but just your thinking mind is going to want to interject with that and say that doesn't feel safe or it doesn't feel normal, but I'll be there guiding you and reminding you that, of course, it is safe to breathe. You are just breathing, and that all of these things are normal. They may or may not be happening too. So just remember that. So the key is to also have a nice blanket and warm layers. Definitely lie flat on your back. So we don't want to have a pillow because we want as much of a flat spine as possible so the breath is more free. I like to have a pillow underneath or bolster underneath the knees. So especially if you have low back issues, you're going to want to have a little support underneath your knees so that you feel obviously the most comfortable you can in your body. Have your warm layers, your blanket tucked in. Your arms can be by your side or on your body. And when you first lie down for the session, you're basically just going to get comfortable. So you'll have your eye mask if you desire, your earphones on, and for the first few breaths, you're just gonna relax into the surface of the floor, taking a couple of really nice, long, cleansing breaths in through the nose to start. And you can exhale out of your mouth. I'm just noticing where the breath goes. So you're breathing deeper into the belly, if possible. So you want to send the breath down into the hips. And exhale. And when the music starts, and I'll be there with you, I'll start to guide you into this continuous conscious breath, a circular breath. Again, it's a so I like to use my voice. So the sounding out, if you feel comfortable, if there's no one around you and you feel safe doing so, it's really good to express and let the breath be expressed on the exhales with sound. That helps to release some of the emotional tension, the physical tension in the body, the sort of mental tension that we build in our bodies. And you're allowing it to escape through sound. Sound is such a powerful way to release and to cleanse the body. So again, it's a notice that there's no gap or stopping between the breath in and out. You just keep it flowing a little bit deeper, a little bit faster. So that's how the breath works. And again, we'll just keep that breath flowing. And for the first 5-7 minutes, even 10 minutes, the mind is going to want to interject and say, this doesn't feel comfortable. You're going to feel resistance in the body, physical resistance, sort of like mental resistance. And I'm here to say, push through that and stay with yourself. Commit to your breath and commit to yourself the whole time. And just see where it leads you. And if it feels overwhelming at any time, just know that you're in control of your breath the whole time. You can take cleansing breaths. You can stop the breath flow like that continuous breath, and take cleansing breaths in and out if it feels overwhelming, just to slow the process down a little bit. Because once you go in and you let go into the flow of the experience, then you notice that judgmental thinking mind will start to soften a little bit, and then you can go into your emotional layers of your body and just start to feel and witness yourself there. um, Sometimes you'll see visuals. If you're a visual person, you might just start to feel overwhelming emotions. You might have, strange thoughts and think like, where did that come from? And just sort of trust your body's process of processing all the things that are in there. So, and these are layers. And just remember that each time you do the breath work, we're going into different layers and different parts of ourselves and allowing all of it to be there. It is a feeling of vulnerability, and just know that you are worth it and that it is safe to breathe. The last thing I'll leave you with is what a lot of people talk about during breath work, is that you can experience what we call tetany, which is claw hands. We call them lobster claw hands, because when you start to breathe intensely like this, when the chemistry of the body changes, the energy needs to go somewhere. And oftentimes it sort of feels like it's getting stuck in the hands. We're kind of squeezing, and it feels uncontrollable, like you're not doing it, it's like the body's doing it. And so if you can stay with that and trust that it's just your body's way of releasing energy, you can sort of tap your hands gently on the floor just to release some of that tense energy through the hands. You can imagine the energy moving out through the soles of your feet as you feel the heaviness of your legs. I like to move my body, so I'm often called to, as I'm breathing, kind of move my hips. And it's very kind of guttural and primal, and getting right down into your pelvic floor, really letting the breath go deeper there, and just releasing any of that tension, that emotional tension that we hold in our hips. I, I really welcome you to try that, to move your body. The other thing is sound. Like I said earlier, it's just to release some of the tension. If you're feeling that tightness in the body, just let it come out through some sounds, like a ha or ha, whatever feels natural for you as you exhale. So those are all some tips to help you experience the breath work. If you have any questions before the session, please reach out. And if you need anything after the breath work, please know that I am here for you as well. I will stay on the call for as long as needed, and be available to you after the session as well. So there are ways to reach me, and I'm really excited about working with you in discovering the deeper parts of yourself, and yeah, just being more of who you are, feeling more of who you are. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and I can't wait to see you.